Today, we are diving deep into two of the most legendary civilizations in history, ancient Greece and ancient Rome. But we're not going to just look at them as two separate stories. No, we're going to see them as one single, epic narrative, a story of innovation and execution that literally built the world we live in today. So, let's get right into it.
Have you ever stopped to think about it? You know, the way we vote, the way we reason through big questions, even those massive stadiums where we get to watch our favorite teams play. I mean, these things didn't just pop up out of thin air, right? They have deep, ancient roots. And to really get it, we've got to go back to the very beginning, to these two giants at the heart of our story.
So here's the main idea we're going to be working with. I want you to think of Greece as the brilliant architect, the visionary who dreamed up the blueprint for so much of Western society. They gave us this incredible world of ideas. And then you have Rome. Rome was the master builder, the ultimate engineer who took that blueprint, made it bigger, stronger, and built an empire of order that spread those ideas all across the known world. The blueprint and the builder.
Okay, so let's start with the architect, with Greece. We're stepping into the world that came up with the very concepts of Western philosophy, drama, and democracy itself.
You know, to really understand the Greeks, you have to look at their land. It's all rugged mountains and hundreds of scattered islands. This kind of terrain made it super difficult to create one big unified kingdom. So instead, it led to the rise of all these small, fiercely independent communities, each with its own vibe, all looking out towards the sea to trade and connect with the wider world.
And those independent communities, they became known as the polis, or what we call a city-state. And these weren't just cities. You got to think of them as tiny, self-governing nations. Each one had its own laws, its own army, the whole shebang. The two big ones you've definitely heard of were the brainy hub of Athens and the military machine that was Sparta.
And it was right there in Athens that a truly radical, world-changing idea took shape: direct democracy. For the very first time in history, citizens, and we got to remember, this was mostly just free men, could actually get together, debate the issues of the day, and vote on the laws themselves. I mean, this was absolutely revolutionary, and it's the direct ancestor of pretty much every modern democracy on the planet.
This explosion of political freedom just lit a fire under Greek culture. You've got philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle basically writing the source code for Western thought, asking these huge questions about life in the universe. At the same time, theater is being invented, art is chasing after the perfect human form, and architecture is reaching for this perfect mathematical harmony. It was an incredible time to be alive.
And get this, even with all the constant fighting between the city-states, the Greeks still found a way to come together. The Olympic Games, well, they were so much more than just sports. They were a sacred truce, a huge festival to honor their top god Zeus, and a really powerful symbol that deep down, they were all part of one shared Greek world.
Okay, so if Greece wrote the software, now we turn to the master builder. Let's look at how Rome, this incredibly pragmatic and powerful civilization, took those Greek ideas and built an empire that would last for 1,000 years.
Rome's story is really a story of constant evolution. It starts out as this small city supposedly founded by the wolf-raised Romulus, then it grows into a republic run by a senate, and eventually, boom, it transforms into a massive, globe-spanning empire under powerful emperors.
And this really brings us right back to our central theme, doesn't it? The Romans, they weren't as interested in just thinking about abstract ideas. They cared about what worked in the real world. They were absolute masters of taking a good idea, adapting it, and then scaling it up to make it bigger, stronger, and way more efficient.
50,000. Just let that number sink in. That's how many people could cram into the Roman Colosseum for a show. Now, this isn't just a fun fact. It's a perfect symbol of the Roman mindset. A Greek theater might hold a few thousand people to watch a thoughtful play, but Rome built for the masses. They engineered spectacle on an absolutely unbelievable scale. And that obsession with scale wasn't just for their buildings, it was for their territory too. At its absolute peak, the Roman Empire stretched all the way from Britain to the deserts of the Middle East, pulling dozens of different cultures under one single system of law and government. They didn't just conquer land, they built an empire of interconnectedness.
So you're probably wondering, how in the world did they manage all of that? Well, the answer is simple: engineering. They built over 50,000 miles of paved roads. all roads lead to Rome, right? They built these incredible aqueducts that carried fresh water for hundreds of kilometers, and they developed this massive, comprehensive legal system that acted as a common framework for the entire empire. This was the hardware that made the whole thing run.
Okay, but what was it actually like to live in these places? Let's zoom in from the big picture stuff and compare the day-to-day lives and the values of an average Greek and an average Roman.
This table gives us a fantastic side-by-side look. Now, you can see that both societies had a pretty similar structure: elites, regular folks, and slaves. But check out the differences. In Greece, the family was the core of a much simpler life. In Rome, the father was also the head of the household, but women could actually wield significant power and play really important roles. And the sports? Wow, it's night and day. Greek Olympics were about unity and honoring the gods. Roman games, they were often brutal, bloody spectacles designed purely for mass entertainment.
So we've seen the blueprint and we've seen the builder. Now let's bring it all together and talk about the incredible, mind-boggling legacy these two worlds left behind for every single one of us.
I mean, this quote from a simple history textbook just nails it, doesn't it? The ideas that were born in those small, rocky city-states became the absolute bedrock for politics, science, and art for the entire Western world.
So, from that Greek blueprint, we inherited democracy itself and that philosophical way of thinking critically. We got the very ideas of tragedy and comedy, epic poems that are still read today, and of course the unifying spirit of the Olympics. These are the big ideas we're still wrestling with.
And from the Roman builder, we inherited the structures that hold society together. Their principles of law and governments are still baked into our legal codes. Their engineering marvels still leave us speechless. The Latin language they spoke became the mother of so many modern languages, and it was their network of roads and trade that allowed ideas like Christianity to spread across the globe.
And if there's one thing you take away today, let it be this. The Greek software, all their brilliant ideas about art, science, and politics, was installed on the Roman hardware of roads, laws, and legions. And together, they created the fundamental operating system for Western civilization, an OS we are still running right now.
So, I'll leave you with this last question to think about. Sure, their empires are long gone. The Parthenon is in ruins, and the Colosseum is a tourist spot. But just look around you. Look at our governments, our laws, our language, our art. In how many ways are you, today, still living in their world?